Hello and welcome to your Pilates class at home. Make sure you have a towel or a mat rolled out, something that you're going to be comfortable to do your class on. We're going to do a foundations class, so going through the basics and just moving our body. So I'm going to start lying on my back. Knees are bent and legs are hip distance apart. Slowly make your way down onto the mat. So let's relax that head onto the mat, relaxing those shoulders. You can open the palms up towards the ceiling if you like, just to open up and relax the chest a little bit more. And just taking note of what parts of your body land and are supported by the mat. So your shoulder blades should hopefully be touching, your tailbone should feel nice and heavy on the mat, and your feet are planted down, the arches of your feet lifted, and just give those toes a little bit of a wriggle, make sure they're nice and relaxed. You should have a natural arch in your lower back, so a small gap between your mat and your back. That's your neutral spine, and we aim to maintain that for as much as the Pilates class as we can. So embrace that natural arch and making sure both hip bones are nice and flat. So give your hips a little bit of a wriggle if you like. Just make sure they're feeling nice and relaxed. Then from here, what we're going to do is we're just going to take a few rounds of breath. So I want you to inhale through the nose and exhale through your mouth. Let's deepen the inhale breath and extend the exhale breath. Good. As you deepen that inhale, feel your chest lift, your ribcage expand, and your belly expand as well. As you exhale, feel all that air pressing out. One more inhale. As you exhale, let's bring a little bit more awareness to that rib cage now. So as you exhale, think about closing the ribs in and down towards the front of your hip bones. And I want you to think about drawing that belly button in a little bit as well. So we inhale, let the body fill up with air. Everything's nice and relaxed. As you exhale, think about drawing the ribs down. Belly button draws in. Still want to keep that neutral arch in the lower back. Inhale through the nose, expand. Exhale through the mouth. Draw that rib cage in. Good. Two more just like that. Nice big inhale for me. Nice long exhale. Lucky last one. Relax those shoulders. Relax the hips on the inhale breath. Exhale, push all that air out. Draw that belly button in. Draw those ribs in. Beautiful. We're going to go into an exercise called lift foot. So I want you to keep that deeper breath, and we're going to add some movement with it now as well. So we're going to inhale and lift your leg to tabletop position. This is where the leg's bent at 90 degrees, the knee is above the hip, and your shin should be parallel with the mat, toes pointed. Then slowly lower that leg on your exhale breath. Inhale, lift that other leg to tabletop position. Exhale, drop it back down. Move nice and slowly, alternating sides here. Let that breath control that movement. Good. When you start to exhale, it's when you start to lower the foot. Good. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Good. When you inhale again, we're just expanding through those ribs. When you exhale, draw that belly button in and support that leg as you lower. Beautiful. Continue to alternate sides here. I'm going to bring a little bit of awareness down a bit lower into our pelvic floor and our deep tummy muscles. So we want to minimize the rocking from side to side. So our tailbone's nice and heavy. And what we want to do is when we exhale, we're drawing our belly button in and we're lowering that leg down. I want you to think about lifting that pelvic floor just a little bit. So that's that small little contractions if you're going to stop yourself from going to the bathroom or from passing wind. And that's just going to help keep that pelvis nice and still. We still want to relax as we inhale and lift the leg. It's when we exhale and lower that we lift up and control that leg down. So relax as you inhale and lift the leg. Exhale, we draw in and up, controlling that leg down. Good. Couple more each side. We lift to relax. Exhale as we lower. Still keeping that neutral spine. Our lower back should not be moving here. Beautiful. Last one this side. Good. Lucky last one on the other side. Beautiful. Let's just rock those hips from side to side. Use this to relax. Beautiful. We're going to go back into our lift foot exercise and we're going to add on. So we inhale to lift. I want you to exhale to straighten the leg out nice and long and turn the inside of the leg to face up towards the ceiling, still pointing that toe. Inhale to drop the leg down, just as low as you feel comfortable. Exhale, draw that belly button in, slight lift of the pelvic floor to lift that leg back up. Good, rotate back to the center, bring it back to tabletop and lower the leg down. Let's try the other side. So we inhale to lift. Exhale to straighten and rotate that hip externally so the inside of our knee faces up. We lower down on the inhale. We lift up on the exhale. Rotate back to tabletop before we lower. Good. Again, we're minimizing that rocking from side to side using our deep tummy muscles. Lift, extend and rotate. Inhale to lower. Exhale, we lift. Back to tabletop before we lower. Good, other side. Let's inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale to relax back down. Good. Next inhale breath, we lift. Straighten and rotate, point the toes. Lower. Lift back. Rotate out of tabletop to lower. Good. Lift, exhale, inhale, exhale, lift, and come back home. We've got one more each side. Inhale to lift, little pause, straighten and rotate, point that toe, lower just as low as you feel comfortable. Exhale, lift, back to tabletop before you lower. Good, lucky last one. Lift, extend, lower, lift, tabletop and home. Good, rocking those hips from side to side for me. Beautiful. We're going to bring a little bit of more awareness now to our upper abdominals, okay? So our legs are going to stay on the mat this time. Our hands are going to come behind the back of our head. We're going to go back to using our breath to activate through our tummy muscles and draw that rib cage down towards our hips, okay? What we want to do is we want to keep our head in the same position that it is in now. So you place your hands behind the back of your head and the back of your skull should be resting onto your hands or onto the mat. From here, we keep the back of the neck lifted or lengthened and we keep our chin tucked in. You take a nice big inhale breath, feel the ribs expand. As you exhale, draw that belly button in, draw the ribs in, enough that you can lift the upper body up. Gaze should be on the knees here. My chin is still tucked in, the back of my neck is nice and lengthened, and I'm trying to draw my hips down towards the front of my hip bones as much as I can, trying to flatten through my lower belly as much as I can as well. From here, if we lift the head, we're sort of cranking through the front and the back of the neck. So keep that chin tucked in and lift from the stomach, okay? And then we inhale to lower back down. Continue with these ab curls. So on your exhale breath, you tuck and you curl up. Aim to get those shoulder blades lifted up off the mat. Inhale to slowly lower. Good. Exhale to curl. Inhale to lower. Beautiful. Only moving as quick or as slow as you are breathing. Let that breath take you. Exhale. Beautiful. Inhales when we relax. Exhales when we contract and lift. You might notice as you start to exhale, it sort of builds that pressure in the abdominals, so it really helps engage through your abdominals. You might even notice that when you exhale, you've got that slight lift of that pelvic floor as well. So that contraction, keeping your hips nice and still. Inhale, relax everything back down. Good, we've got a couple more here. Exhale, inhale, lucky last one. Exhale, curling up. Inhale, we lower back down. Whew, good, rocking those hips from side to side again, using this just to relax all those muscles. Beautiful. We're going to do a little bit more work in tabletop position next. So you bring yourself back down onto your mat. We're not going to use that upper body yet. So we're going to inhale, lift our leg to tabletop position. This time the other leg is going to come up and meet the other leg in tabletop. So both our legs now are at 90 degrees. Our knees should be stacked above our hips. So try not to bring the knees too close and let the tailbone lift. We want to keep the legs away from the chest. And that's when we really start to focus on our deep tummy muscles. Then I want you to drop that first leg back down, the second leg back down. Good. Alternate your starting legs. So we're going to lift up to tabletop. Exhale, belly button in, lift the other leg up to meet it. Good. Pausing at the top. Drop the first leg down, drop the second leg down. We've got 2 more like this. I'm going to hold tabletop position on our last one. Beautiful. We're holding on this one. So we inhale, lift one leg. Hold it nice and still. Draw that belly button in so you can lift the other leg up to tabletop. Beautiful. Placing our hands behind the back of our head. We've got 5 little ab curls in this position. So we exhale to curl up. We inhale to lower back down. Exhale to curl. Inhale to lower. Good. If you're finding your legs are really hard to hold in this position, I want you to think about squeezing your ankle bones together. So give them a nice little squeeze. I'm going to use our inner thighs a little bit more. Exhale, curl up. Inhale to lower. Lucky last 2. Beautiful. Lucky last one. Curling up. Lowering back down. If you can hold your legs in tabletop, do so. Otherwise, just place them down, give yourself a little bit of a rest, and then meet us back in tabletop when you can. From here, we're going to squeeze our legs together and holding them together this time. We're going to use a little bit more of our obliques. We're going to keep our legs together and they're going to move as one. So what I'm going to get you to do is rotate your hips or your legs over to one side of the mat. Let this other hip lift up. Keep the shoulder blades planted. Then what I want you to do is think about drawing the opposite rib and the opposite hip together and pull that hip back down onto the mat. Beautiful. Let's go the other way. Both legs move together. That opposite hip lifts up off the mat. Only rotate as far as you can and then draw that hip back down onto the mat. Good. Moving nice and slowly. Don't let those knees come too close in towards your chest. Good. Pull that rib back down onto the mat. Good. We're just alternating sides here. Exhale, come back to the center. Good. So we inhale, take the legs over to one side. Exhale, belly button in. Pull those hips back down. Good. Couple more here. This exercise is called pendulum. Excellent. Keep those legs glued together for me. Keep those shoulders planted onto the mat. Really focus on that exhale breath. Pull that belly button in. Pull that hip back down onto the mat. Beautiful. One more each side. Good. Rotate. Exhale, pull that hip down. Good. Lucky last one. Check if those legs have come too close in towards the chest. It's easy done. Good. Exhale, pull that leg back down. Beautiful. Place one leg down, place the other leg down, and again we just rock those hips from side to side. Just use this as your way of resetting and relaxing everything. As important as it is that we contract our muscles, it's really important that we learn to relax them as well. Excellent. All right, we're going to do some oblique work next. So again, bring our legs to tabletop one at a time. So we inhale, lift. Exhale, lift the other one up. Hands behind the back of the head this time. Beautiful. We're going to add an ab curl in. At any point you can lose the ab curl if it gets too much, okay? So we exhale, curl our body up. I want you to straighten one leg out long. Bring it back to tabletop. Straighten the other leg out nice and long. Back to tabletop. Option to hold the ab curl, lower out of the ab curl, or you can just lose the ab curl altogether. Otherwise we curl back up. We extend one leg, back to tabletop, extend the other leg, hold the ab curl, otherwise lower and lift. And we continue with the legs. One each side. Add the ab curl or hold the curl up as we continue. So I'll hold the ab curl this time. A little pause before we do the legs again. Excellent. I'll leave it up to you. Holding the ab curl, lowering and lifting, or just losing the ab curl altogether. Beautiful. Let's go for 3, for 2, lucky last one each side. Good, and lower. Lower the legs if you like, otherwise we're holding in tabletop position. We're gonna add a rotation. So we ab curl up. As you straighten one leg out long, I want you to rotate towards that bent knee. Come back to the center, other side. Straighten the leg out, rotate towards the bent knee, back to tabletop before you lower. Let's go again. Let's ab curl up, straighten and twist, back to the center, straighten and twist, back to the center before you lower. We've got 2 more just like that. Curling up, straighten and twist, straighten and twist, back to the center. Last one. Hold those legs still for me. Let's ab curl up, lift those shoulder blades, rotate, rotate. Good. Hug those knees in for me and lower the head, neck and shoulders. Nicely done. A little ab challenge to finish off our ab work. I'm going to do a little bit of glutes after this. So what I want you to do is hold those legs in nice and close. Curl the body up if you can. Keep that chin tucked in and draw the ribs down towards the hips. From here, what I want you to do is keep one knee hugged in, straighten the other leg out nice and long for me. Beautiful. More challenging lowering the leg down closer towards the mat. Easier if you keep the leg lifted. So just pick a level that's best for you. Then from here, I want you to switch. Switch the legs over. Beautiful. Switch again. Hug that knee in nice and close. Good, and switch. If it's too hard to maintain the ab curl, lower the head, neck and shoulders and just continue with the legs. Move nice and slowly to begin with. Hug that knee in nice and close. Good. Switch. Switch. Curling up if you can. Think about trying to flatten through the lower abdominals. You've still got that natural arch in your lower back. Keep drawing the ribs down towards your hip bones. Good. Exhale. We are here for 5. Good. For 4. For 3. Keep that chin tucked in. Keep curling up. Last one. Good. Hug those knees in. Lower the head, neck and shoulders. Good stuff. That's our ab work done. We're going to roll onto one hip. Doesn't matter which one. We'll definitely do both. All right. You want to lay your upper body down. You can rest your hand and your head and support yourself with your bicep. Otherwise, just straighten that arm out nice and long and rest your head onto your bicep. From here, I'm bending my knees. My ankles, my hips and my shoulders are in one long line. So imagine you're lining yourself up with the back of your mat or against a wall. Then from here, what I'm going to get you to do is we want to push this top hip away. So I want you to imagine that both hips stay in one long line. And we want to create a really tiny gap between the side of your waist and the mat. So we don't want to let that bottom of the waistline drop. We want to keep it lifted and engage through both sides of the hips. Then from here, our ankles are going to stay together. We're going to use our glute muscle to open up that top knee towards the ceiling. So from here, you can notice that I don't want you rolling back as you open that leg up. We just want to create that tension at the hip and get that muscle to work and keep our hips in one long straight line. And we lower that knee down. So we exhale to lift. We inhale to lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Use the first couple just to get comfortable and readjust your legs as you need to. You want to keep the upper body relatively relaxed. We want to focus on where our pelvis is and trying to maintain that one straight line between the 2 hip bones. Beautiful. We can progress this quite quickly, so you can stay with your feet down onto the mat, or clam number 2 is when we lift both ankles up, but we continue with the exact same motion. So we're still lifting that top knee up towards the ceiling, and we're still creating that tension in the hips. Beautiful. We're getting that muscle nice and warm. You can place your hand on your hip like I have, just to make sure that muscle is activating. You should be able to feel it pop up underneath your hands, and it should be starting to get nice and warm as we work into it. Good. By lifting the legs, you are getting the bottom hip to work a little bit more. So if you are starting to feel that hip firing, that's not a bad thing at all. It does help you stay more rolled forward as well, so you don't have to fight yourself rolling back as much. You've got more of that force rolling forward. Beautiful. Let's go for 3, for 2. Lucky last one. Hold that knee up towards the ceiling. Lower both ankles, or lower that bottom ankle. We're going to straighten out that top leg. So from here, just reassess. Make sure you're rolling forward. You're reaching through that top leg, so both hips are lifted. You've got that small gap between your waist. And then you want to make sure this leg is in line with the body, if not a little bit more behind. So we're really using our glute muscle to bring the leg into extension and sweep it behind you, and still keep the hips pressing forward, okay? So I don't want this bottom leg to lift up. We're going to keep that leg planted onto the mat. From here, I just want to go into a few lift and lowers. So we're just going to lower the leg a little bit in line with the body, and we exhale, lift it back up. Good. Inhale, lower in line with the body. Exhale, lift it back up. Good. So we're using our big glute muscle at the back to hold that leg behind us, or in line with our body. And then we're working more into the side of the hip here as we lower and lift the leg away from the ground. Good. Lower and lift. Beautiful. 2 more here for me if you can. Lower, lift. Keep reaching long from that leg. Last one, lower and lift. Good. Now we're going to sweep the leg forward. Should be in line with that bottom leg now. Flex the foot if you can. Exhale, sweep that leg back to where it started. Point the toe, sweep the leg forward. Flex the foot, push that heel back towards the back edge of your mat. Point to come forward. Flex to go back. See if you can keep that leg lifted. Just tracing one straight line with your toe to come forward, and then trace that line with your heel to go back. 2 more. Forward, sweep it back. Good. Forward and sweep it back. Excellent. Lower that leg down. We're going to stretch it out just by placing your foot onto the mat in front of you. Hook it just behind that knee there, and then you can gently push this knee up and away from you. Good. Just some nice steady breaths. Try to relax into that hip as much as you can. I'm definitely feeling that burn. I hope you guys are at home too. And relaxing down. Let's roll onto our back. Before we go on to the other side, we're just going to go through a few pelvic curls. So you want to make sure your heels aren't too far away. You should just be able to reach up and touch them, and they're in line with the knees. What we're going to do here is take a nice big inhale breath. As you exhale, draw the belly button in. Think about squeezing both butt cheeks, and I want you to slowly lift your hips up towards the ceiling, lifting one vertebrae of your spine up one segment at a time until you're in one long straight line. So my glutes are squeezing and they're lifting my hips up. I'm up onto my shoulder blades, but I'm not arching through my lower back. So if I arch to my lower back, it seems like I can get a little bit higher, but I've lost the rib to hip connection in the front. So I just want to tuck my tailbone back under, lift my pubic bone up, and lift my rib cage down towards my hips. So all the focus now is in the back of my body. So I'm using a little bit of my hamstrings, I'm using a lot of my glutes, and I've just got that abdominal awareness so I can keep myself in one long straight line. We're pushing our feet into the ground, our arches are lifted, and our knees are just pointing straight over the top of our toes, okay? Then we slowly reverse the motion to go back down. So I'm lowering my rib cage first,
lowering one vertebrae of my spine at a time, keeping my tailbone tucked until my hips land on the mat and I can relax. So I've got my natural arch in my lower back when I'm relaxed. We exhale, belly button in, my tailbone tucks under, I squeeze my glutes, and I can press my feet into the mat and lift my hips up towards the ceiling. Again, you get to that point where you're like, I can't lift anymore without arching my back. Should be able to maintain this position as well. So we want to make sure that both glutes are working. We're up onto our shoulder blades, and I'm pressing my heels and the sides of my feet into the mat so my arches can be lifted. I should be able to wriggle my toes to make sure all that weight's in my heels and in my glutes. And when you're ready, we roll ourselves back down onto the mat, one vertebrae at a time, keeping that tension in the glutes until those hips land back down onto the mat. Let's do 2 more just like that. Exhale, tuck, peel, and lift those hips up towards the ceiling. Nice big squeeze at the top. See if you can maintain that squeeze as you slowly start to lower. Beautiful. That last little bit is the hardest. The hips just want to let go and be on the mat. See if you can really slow that movement down. We've got one last one. Keep those arches lifted. Squeeze those glutes at the top. Beautiful. Slowly lower, one vertebrae at a time. Lower that rib cage and lower the hips. Beautiful. We're going to roll onto our other hip. We've got our clams to go on the other side. Just going to rotate so you can see what I'm doing. Lying that upper body down, positioning yourself so your ankles, your hips, and your shoulders are in one long line. Push that top hip away. When you're ready, those ankles stay together. Hand on the top hip, and we use that glute to hover the right knee up towards the ceiling, or that top knee up towards the ceiling. Beautiful. We use the first couple again just to make sure you're in that nice comfy position that feels right for you. It feels nice and easy at the start, but unfortunately we know what's coming because we did it on the other side. If you went into clam 2, feel free to do that now, so you're lifting both ankles up off the mat. If you want to stay with clam 1, that is totally fine when you leave your ankles down. Again, trying to relax through the upper body and send all your focus on what your hips are doing, creating that really tiny gap between your waist and the mat, and trying not to roll backwards as you open that top knee, okay? Beautiful. We've got another 5 clams here before we kick our leg out nice and long. Beautiful. Should be starting to feel that warmth happening now. Excellent. Lucky last one. Let's open that top knee and hold. Lower the bottom ankle onto the mat as you straighten your leg out nice and long. Again, from here, making sure we're sweeping our leg back enough that we can still feel this tension in the glute, and our leg is pointing towards the side of the room now. From here, we lower down just so our leg's in line with the body. Exhale, lifting straight back up. Lowering down and lifting up. So it doesn't have to be a very big movement. Good. Especially because if we do make this movement any bigger, I feel like the bottom waist has to drop. The hips have to shift to let that leg lift. So we want to think about dropping the leg a little bit, think about reaching long through the toes, and think about shortening that movement. Good. Let's go for 2 more. We lower and lift. Last one, lower and lift. Nice. We keep the toes pointed as we sweep that leg forward in line with the bottom leg. We flex the foot, remember, and we sweep that leg back in line with the body. Point the toes, we trace that line forward, flex the foot, and trace that line back. Good. See if you can keep that line at the same height. So try not to let the hip drop too much. Keep it nice and still if you can. point. That leg shouldn't come any further forward than in line with the bottom leg. Exhale, sweep it back to where you started. Beautiful. Again, trying to keep those hips nice and still. That bottom leg wants to lift up as we sweep the leg back. So just go to where you feel comfortable. Beautiful. Lucky last two. Stay with me if you can. Exhale, sweep it back. Lucky last one. Point those toes, trace that line forward. Exhale, sweep that leg back. And you can rest it down. Let's stretch this leg out like we did the other side. So bring that foot forward, hook it in front of that knee, and then you can gently, once you relax through that hip, push that knee up and away.